Is it acceptable in the 21st century, in the sixth richest country in the world, that people should be forced to sit in the dark and the cold, families, children, elderly people, because they simply don't have enough money to top up the meter? That's the question that we've got to ask. And I think this scandal will bring the debate about it to the forefront of public life, because we need to sort it out. It simply isn't acceptable.
Labour MP, former Cabinet Minister, Hilary Benn this morning. Morning, Hilary.
Morning, Matt.
I know you've been speaking in the Commons recently about the issue of prepayment meters. What's your reaction to this latest revelation?
It's utterly shocking. I mean, I don't know what those men thought they were doing. And why did British Gas not know what people were doing on their behalf? And all credit to the Times for having exposed this, because this is a bigger scandal. You've got people on the lowest incomes who are struggling to pay any of their bills, and energy companies are going into their homes, fitting a prepayment meter, knowing that because people don't have money, they can't top them up. And when they can't top up the prepayment meter, they'll be sitting in the cold and the dark in the middle of winter. It is scandalous. And I think that the forced fitting of prepayment meters should stop.
Do you think it should go further and just ban these prepayment meters? Because I still don't understand why they're allowed to charge more if you're on a prepayment meter, when by definition you're only being put on it because you can't afford to pay your bills at a lower rate.
Well, that is the other scandal. And this has been going on for years. And it's something that I campaigned on when I was first elected to Parliament over 20 years ago. But I think there's a broader principle here. You go back about 25 years ago, we had a debate in this country about whether it should be allowed to cut people off from their water supply. And there was a huge uproar because people saw the cases, families that couldn't wash their clothes, couldn't bathe their children, people with medical conditions. And the law was changed so that you could not cut people off from their water. Why is it still allowable in this country to deny people light and warmth because they don't have enough money? And I think that is the debate we ought to be having, because when you listen to the government and the energy companies, they say, well, we can provide emergency credit and so on and so forth. It isn't working, because we know from the statistics that more and more people are self-disconnecting because the prepayment meter is there and they can't top it up.
Hilary, because clearly there's an issue. Everyone else is paying their bills. So what do you do about, you don't want people, like you said, to be cut off. You definitely don't want people kicking your door down in order to do it. But if some people are paying their bills, shouldn't everyone pay their bills? Or is there a case for saying, I don't know, the government pays a certain baseline of your bills? Or we can't just say that your gas and electric should be free. So how do you resolve this issue that prices go up? Everyone's struggling to pay their bills at the moment, apart from the very wealthy. So what can you do? Because you can't have a situation where some people just don't pay their bills and then it was all right because my lights and my gas will stay on.
Well, we're not talking, Matt, about people who deliberately choose not to pay their energy bills when they can perfectly well afford it. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about people on very low incomes, families in vulnerable situations. I mean, there are guidelines that say you shouldn't be doing this anyway. In the case of vulnerable families, well, what we saw in the Times report shows that they are not being observed. So the first thing we should do is have a moratorium, no more installation of prepayment meters this winter while this mess is sorted out. Secondly, we should bring to an end at last people on prepayment meters being charged more for their electricity and their gas than other customers. And thirdly, I think we need to have a national debate. Is it acceptable in the 21st century, in the sixth richest country in the world, that people should be forced to sit in the dark and the cold, families, children, elderly people, because they simply don't have enough money to top up the meter? That's the question that we've got to ask. And I think this scandal will bring the debate about it to the forefront of public life, because we need to sort it out. It simply isn't acceptable.